Hello and welcome back. Now I just thought I would do a quick video on the CRT SS9900, just a very basic quick startup video. There's lots of videos on the on YouTube about this radio which fight much better than I can do, a full in-depth review and all the menus and things, but I do keep getting quite a few messages from people that are watching my videos and also watching Stephen's videos, and of course we're all using this little 10-meter kind of radio, and they want to get back into CB, and they've gone out, and it's brilliant, you know, it's brilliant. They've gone out and bought themselves, on mainly my recommendation and Steve's recommendation, but they got themselves a little CRT SS9900, but there's a bit of a learning curve involved on this radio. So obviously they've got it straight out of the box, and they're a little bit confused as how to get going, because let's be honest about it, if you started out on CB with something like one of these, you know, back from the day, a basic kind of 40 channel FM UK set, and then you go over to something like that, it is a little bit confusing. So I thought I'd just knock this video out just to show you some basic settings on the radio, and just to get you going so you can actually use the radio as a CB. Right, so when you first get your Superstar 9900 out of the box and you connect it up, and also be aware of course that this is a powerful radio. If you've got an old CB power supply, a 3 amp or even a 5 amp from back in the day, that isn't going to be enough to drive this radio on full power. So you really need to get yourself, I'm going to say, around about a 15 amp power supply. You might get away with a 13, but I'm going to say get yourself a 15 amp power supply. Do not try and run this on an old CB power supply, because it needs at least 12 amps when it's running at full power, maybe even a little bit more on sideband, depending, that they vary. So you need a good 15 amp supply even before you switch it on. Go onto eBay, you pick them up second hand, you know, normally for about £20 or probably 40 quid for a new one. Right, they got that out of the way. Okay, so when you first switch your radio on, of course, what confuses a lot of people, and what a lot of the comments I'm getting in is, all you've got is a frequency display. This is because it's a 10-meter radio and it's not a CB radio. And if you come from a CB radio where you've just got 40 channels, or even if you come from a Grant 2 or something, it's going to be a little bit confusing. But don't get a bit put off by that. Don't get too caught up in the frequencies, because it will work as a channel radio. So let me just show you how. Now the first thing you need to set is your mode. Now, I'll notice on the display there it's currently on USB. So if you want to go to, we'll say, to the UK 40 FM channels, the one, you know, the Muppets, what you're used to, is just press the mode button all the way round until you get to FM. So once you're then on FM, that's your part, you're almost ready to go. Now pretty much all of these radios that you buy new in the UK, I think I got mine from Radio World on Nights or something, they come pre-tuned to the UK 40 FM in band A, because the radio has band A to I think, which is a preset number of bands where you can, if you've got the leads, you can program them yourself, so you can just sort of tune in which frequencies you like. But band A is, as far as I know, on all the radios that I've seen, is the UK FM. So just press your band button, go through your bands, and make sure that you're set on band A, and that should be the UK 40 FM. But of course you've still got the obligatory frequency display. But don't worry, you've got a button here that says frequency. Now this is like the magic button, if you like, when you get it out of the box. Now if you press that, there you go, it changes the radio into channel mode. So this is working just the same now as your old CB would work. So you haven't got to worry about frequency. If you want to check your frequency, you can always just switch it off again, and you can check what frequency you're on. But as long as you're on band A, you're set to FM mode, and you've set the frequency switch to channel mode, there you go, there's the 40 FM frequencies, and that's it. It's just basically going to work as a CB radio. Now one thing that I will say is check on FM. Now of course you haven't got to worry about the clarifier on FM because there's no clarification to be done. That's only on sideband. But just check your power settings. Now your power settings is the first inner pot. A little bit fiddly, the buttons on this radio, but this one here just above the mic socket, and you should have a mic plugged in of course, but obviously I'm just not got one. But you've got the power setting there. Now when it's full power, that will be all the way around there to just about the 6 or 7 o'clock position. On FM, I would recommend that you probably run it at sort of round about the 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position, which is about sort of just over the half power mark. And the reason I say that is that the back of the radio, where you've got that heatsink, it does get extremely hot when you run this radio on full power on FM. Now some people run fans on it to keep it cool, but we're talking, you know, after a while you can't actually touch it. So on FM I always run mine round about half power, and I find that's plenty. It's normally about 30 watts or something, and that's plenty. Now the second pot you've got, that's the power, is the inner pot. Then make sure the outer pot here, which is your RF gain, that's the sensitivity of the signal, make sure that's turned all the way round down to about the 6 o'clock position to turn up the signal meter to make sure that you're getting in all of the stations. So that covers basic FM 40 channels. But of course you didn't buy this radio because you want a 40 channel FM rig. Now you want to go onto sideband. Now tuning the radio onto sideband is a little bit more difficult. It does basically mean that you have to tune it in manually to get to certain frequencies, but it's not that difficult once you start. So we'll change it back to frequency mode. So we press the frequency button and this gives us the frequency. Next you go to your mode button, currently we're on FM, and change that to sideband. Now you've got upper sideband and lower sideband. Now in the UK in general you'll receive more stations on upper sideband. Lower sideband, it is used for stateside and occasionally on the European bands, but for this demonstration purposes we'll set it to upper sideband. Now then, channel wise some of the frequencies are not pre-programmed into the radio, but that's fine, you can do it manually. If you press the tuning knob you'll notice that the digits will start to flash, and as many times as you press it they go along and that gives you the tuning. Now your last one on the right, we'll set that to 0. Okay, then we'll press it again and then we're going to go to 555 on this, so we'll set that to 5, and then the next channel, then we'll set that one down to 5, and then that's it. Now it will continue flashing for a minute or so while until it goes out of the channel mode, or if you just key up on your microphone that sets it. So there you go, so we're now set on 27555, which is the USB international calling frequency, and basically that's where you're going to get most of your foreign DX come in if the conditions are right. It may or may not work. Now once you're onto sideband you can pretty much run the radio on full power. Personally I always back it off just a little bit, but full power, and you'll find that it won't heat up anything like as much as it will on FM. So the most important difference between AM, FM and sideband is the use of the clarifier on sideband. So there's a very fine bit of adjustment needed sometimes between the two radios. You might be bang on frequency, but the radio that you're receiving is coming in just at a very slightly different pitch. So for that you need to use the clarifier. Now the clarifier on the 9900 unfortunately is this sort of pot here, the outer pot, and it's actually very small. And it's very sensitive as well. What you don't want to do when you use the clarifier, and hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that in a minute, is you don't want to do massive big turns of the knob there. You just want to do it very fine, very sort of sensitive to tune the radio that you're receiving. If I can give you a demonstration, I'm going to pop onto the 305 net and we're just going to try and see if it's possible. I maybe might be able to get you an idea of what's going on. Hopefully I can show you. So once again, we're just going to tune down to 305, and hopefully in a minute we might get a few stations on. Right, so you can hear these two mobile stations here, and you'll notice that they sound a little bit Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. So what you need to do is just get your clarifier, and just very carefully turn it. So you see that? If you turn it back this way, they go high pitched. And then they go really slow. If you turn it the other way, they go really slow. So you just want to get a fine bit in the middle.
Apologies for having it so short, and hopefully someone else will be on soon, over. Yeah, roger, Dave, mate. All copied there, and you have a good evening, sir, and we'll catch you again, 73 for you.
So there you go. So in that circumstance, you can see that the clarifier is just about at the 1 o'clock position, and yeah, that's where you leave it. You'll just have to adjust it as you come to certain different stations. You're going to find that a few of them will be very, very slightly out.
I'll be with you in a minute, Stan. 318 mobile. Roger, mate. Yeah, I'm just going past your junction where you join on.
Right, so what we're going to look at now, the final thing, is that sometimes you might find that you're in the wrong mode by mistake, and it doesn't matter how you're going to adjust your clarifier, you're not going to be able to bring those stations in. So let me just show you what that sounds like. At the moment we're on upper sideband on the correct mode.
Oh, good. I was relieved this morning to find that the traffic wasn't too bad. Because, as you know, I've got...
Now if we're in the wrong mode, if for example... that's lower sideband, you can hear that it's completely off. Now that is what sideband sounds like if you was on FM. And once again, it's very muffled if you're on AM, and then you go back to sideband again, and it becomes clear. Oh, I'm not, I can't answer. So they're calling me at the moment, but I can't answer because I'm doing a video. So yeah, so just going back to it, as I say, use the clarifier very, very carefully. You're very, very sensitive, and it's an idea if you're going to go on to frequency like I was here, you know, just do a little bit of listening. A little bit of listening beforehand, and just get your clarifier tuned into the station you want to talk to, you know, if you can, before you actually transmit. And so the last thing that I want to point out is that, of course, these 9900s, these are really a 10 meter mobile transceiver. So if like me, you know, you're unlicensed, haven't got a ham radio license, then you really need just to be a little bit careful about which frequencies you are transmitting on. Of course, you can listen to, you know, you can tune around and listen to any frequency you want. But if you drift onto the ham radio license frequencies, mainly the 10 meter frequency, then you're becoming a pirate. Now, I don't know how you feel about that. Personally, you know, I sort of respect the radio hams, and I don't want to interfere with their hobby and start pirating on this. So just bear in mind that your UK 11 meter band, which is the band that you're going to use for CB, well, do bear in mind that's 27601 up to 27991. If you go above that and you creep on to 28 megahertz, then you're in the 10 meter ham band, and you really shouldn't be transmitting So
on that
I think that's about it. That's just a very basic guide just to how to get started with one of these little 9900s. They're very similar to the 6900s, but you know, have some fun with it. As I say, especially go on to hop a sideband like this, and just have a tune around. You know, just tune it around like an old-fashioned radio, and just to see what you can find. If the bands are open, or if you like the skip is open, depending on the conditions, then you could be bringing in stations from all over Europe and also America. But on a day like today, you know, other than our little net that's going on, yeah, you know, there's not a great deal about really. As I said to you at the beginning of the video, a good place to hang about and listen for international stations is the 555 27555. It's pretty dead here today typically because I'm making a video, but that's a good one to sort of hang around on, and hopefully you'll get some sort of DX stations coming in. Maybe I'll do another video telling you how to call out on the 555 and conduct yourself on sideband. So yeah, enjoy your radio. I hope this video helped you get started. Subscribe to the channel for more radio videos, especially using this 10-meter radio and my other equipment. But as for now, as always, cheers, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next one.